Welcome. We are delighted to welcome Rakhi and Nishi to enlighten us on a topic of increasing research in the medical community. The importance of gut to our overall health. Rakhi is a holistic fertility therapist, a functional nutritionist, practitioner, along with a life coach. Rakhi has been in the health industry since 2007, became a multi-award-winning holistic fertility therapist after undergoing her own infertility journey, and understood quickly how many health issues stem from poor gut health. She also understands the mind-body connection and that the body needs to work as a whole and not in isolation. Nishi is our case study today. She's a teacher and studied at University of Nottingham. Her interests are yoga, Bollywood, dancing, reading, swimming, cooking, and many, many more. Listening to talks and reading about the importance of gut health helped her make empowering decisions and has been able to take back control of her life when she felt like it was spiraling out of control. Please let one of us know if you want to be part of our subcommittee for health and well-being. You can come and talk to me or any of the other committee members, and we'll be delighted to listen to you and take on board. Okay, this talk is being transmitted live. Let's put our hands together and welcome Rakhi to talk about the importance of gut health.
Jai Jirendra Badane, hello. I'm Rakhi, and thank you for the introduction. I'm a holistic fertility therapist first, and I now qualified as a functional nutrition medicine practitioner. I'm also a life coach, and I'm trained to be a homeopath. My husband says I'm forever studying. Will I ever stop? Today, I aim to tell you about the importance of gut health and how we can support it using food and lifestyle tips. I will speak in English. I will try and do some Gujarati because I know there's some elders with us, but please, bear with me. My Gujarati is still okay, but there are some words that I probably won't be able to translate, so I will try my best. And I just want to reiterate that today's talk is purely informational. If you have any medical conditions or any issues or anything, please, please, please work with your medical practitioner. Don't just go off the back of what I've said. Research what I've said and then see if it does apply to you, but don't just go and apply it to yourself if you're on any medication or anything like that. Please work with your medical practitioner. Otherwise, my life's not going to be worth it. Can I have the next slide, please? So more than 2,500 years ago, the ancient Greek physician Hippocrates famously stated that all disease start in the gut. How many of you believe that? So it is true. Diseases don't just start overnight. They will manifest over years and years and years until your body gets to a state where it can't cope anymore, and then it will come out. So it could be chronic stress, it could be trauma, it could be an infection, you could have picked up a bug, it could be anything that's just manifested into your body and then, brought out as a disease. But it's your signal from your body to say something is not working effectively, and that's when you potentially look to seek medical attention. Some illnesses are genetic, and no matter how much you try to avoid them, you are likely to get them because there is that genetic line that goes down from family members. However, having your body in a healthy manner may allow you to be able to work with the illness better. Also, being a fertility therapist, it's important for me to also say to you that the gut health of the mum to be is really important before she conceives. I see so many women come to me who are desperate, who've had failed IVFs, and sometimes it is just a simple nutritional factor that is the cause of them not being able to conceive. But it's also the start of a beautiful thing for your child as well, to have this healthy baby. Health issues also pertained by the dad are likely to be passed down. So, if you've got eczema, if you've got diabetes, if you don't work on yourself before the conception happens, then again, you may be passing that down to your children as well. Next slide. So what is gut health? Anyone fancies just saying what they think gut health is? Yeah, and who said that? Yeah, correct. You have a silent audience. Second brain. Your gut is your second brain, which is correct. Okay, so your gut health is all about the gut microbiome. And believe it or not, we need good bacteria, but we also need bad bacteria. But it's when the bad bacteria overrides the good bacteria, that's when diseases, intolerances, sensitivities, all of that start to come. So it's about being able to balance your good bacteria and how to do that with the use of food and lifestyle changes. 80% of your immune system is in your gut. And therefore, we need to keep this strong, as it's not just about protecting us from coughs and colds, but it is our general well-being as well. However, if the immune system keeps getting attacked, and that's something that Nishi will probably tell us about when she does her talk, and it's not looked after, one is likely to get autoimmune conditions, such as rheumatoid arthritis. Just a show of hands, who here has rheumatoid arthritis? Oh, very lucky, everyone's healthy. Thyroid disease. It's not enough that the doctor just tests for your TSH levels via the NHS blood test. There is a much, much deeper blood test that if you have a thyroid issue, I would urge everyone to have done, because it works with your antibodies as well. So it's not enough that your TSH levels are high, but again, as I mentioned before, it's everything working as a whole and not just one thing in isolation. Crohn's, colitis, IBS. IBS is a big name. It's bandied about, but IBS needs to go deeper. Psoriasis, also a condition stemming from poor gut health. So these are a few that stem from having poor gut health. If you do present with any autoimmune condition at all, my first port of advice, regardless of everything else, is eliminate gluten. So many people, especially all of us, eat lots of gluten in the form of wheat, rye, barley, and therefore, we're attacking our own immune system. And then I get the gasp going, what do I eat now? But there is so much one can eat that is still healthy and that will still fulfill your diet as well. I have an amazing mum, she's sat somewhere in the audience, who I'm trying to be gluten-free and is making some amazing recipes for me. Our rotli now consists of farari lot and quinoa lot, no gono lot at all. And they actually come out really, really nice and soft. So, and you feel lighter on the stomach as well. So I would urge anyone to try being gluten-free for at least 6 months. I know that sounds like a really long time, but that can be enough to heal whatever is going on in the gut as well. And then reintroduce it again. But if you have autoimmune disease, I'm sorry, but gluten is something you should eliminate forever, regardless of whether you're in remission or healed or whatever it is, because you already have an attack on your immune system. But if it's this case of it's an intolerance or sensitivity, reintroduce it again 6 months later and see, are you still having symptoms? If you are, stop it again. The same goes for, there are many moms here, there are many daughters here. If you have a daughter or you yourself are struggling with period pains or menstrual conditions, wheat is one of the biggest things that is an aggravator to it. So I urge you all, if you've got anyone you know who's having menstrual conditions, ask them again just to go to wheat-free, even if it's for a couple of cycles, and see what difference that makes. If you're someone who has been diagnosed as being celiac, are there any celiacs in the audience? No? Okay. I mean, it does require a lot of extensive testing, but for you, gluten is a complete no-no. You can't even have a speck of it. You can't mix anything that's got gluten. You have to become a household that's potentially gluten-free. And that unfortunately means new toasters, anything that's contaminated with the wheat. I asked this question last year, and I'd love to see the response this year. How many of you have a heavy wheat-based diet? Meaning toast or cereal at breakfast, sandwiches for lunch, and shak rotli for dinner? Just a show of hands. That's your perception. That's really your perception. તમારી વાત સાચી છે અને અમે નાનેથી મોટા થયેલા સોમવારથી શુક્રવાર અમારા ઘરમાં શાક રોટલી હતા અને આપણને એમ થાય કે શાક રોટલી ના ખાધું તો પેટ ન ભરાણું. I agree. I completely agree. અને હવે even for us, રજામાંથી અમે જાય આવ્યા પાછા જો મમ કે સાસુ હોય કે શું ખાવું છે ખીચડી કે દાળ ભાત. That's the first thing we will ask for because we've missed it so much. So in that way, આપણી ખોરાક એમ સારી છે પણ જે રીતે ઘઉં ને બધું દરેલું છે એનું પ્રોસેસ જે ન્યુટ્રિશન બધું સ્ટ્રીપ કરેલું છે એટલે એમાં તકલીફ છે. How many of you bloat or feel sluggish after you have had bread or sandwich or something like that? So firstly, it could be that you're sensitive to the wheat. Secondly, I'm assuming most of us are vegetarians. Being a vegetarian, we have a very carb-heavy diet. Aprama diabetes nuboche. And it's our diet that is leading us to diabetes because we are carb-heavy, so you get the sugar spike. And then you're hungry again really quickly, so then you eat again something different, snacks, whatever. And so we lack in good protein and good fat. And if people think we mustn't eat fat because fat will make us fat. Ke cholesterol che. But actually, the body needs cholesterol the liver makes the cholesterol and the body needs the fat. It is your sugar intake and your stresses that are raising your cholesterol. It is not the fat, unless you're consuming cakes and biscuits and things like that. Then obviously that's the wrong fat. So I will go on to proteins and fats and all that, but just have a think, like tomorrow, don't go for the bread, don't go for the cereal, go for a much better, healthier breakfast if you can, and notice the difference just by having a good breakfast at the start of your day. Next slide, please. So these are signs of good gut health. You should be able to have a regular, good bowel movement. And what I mean by that is que exate nikrijai, there is no residue, there is no stickiness, you're not straining, it's not coming out in little rabbit pellets. It's literally, pardon my description, but long sausage formed straight. You laugh, but that is the sign of a good gut health. And if you want to check what your stools are against, check against the Bristol stool chart and have a look. Yeah, what is your stool like to understand, is it healthy or is it not? Everyone typically should be having one decent stool movement, and ideally first thing in the morning. Some people will have multiple throughout the day, and that may be normal for you, but that to me also suggests your body is not absorbing your nutrition. There is some sensitivity to it, and you're flushing everything straight out again. Ideal transition time is 12 to 17 hours, not 30 minutes. You may feel better, but that just means that you had something that your body doesn't like or is not agreeing. Energy stays stable. And this is what I'm saying about blood sugar. Ke toast kaine, ke rotli kaine, ghanam ak michai, beta beta. Ke em lage ke sui jauche. Ke you haven't got the energy to focus or function. So that's signs of either metabolic dysfunction, poor gut health, or blood sugar imbalance. You can eat foods without having any reactions to them, because we should all be able to eat everything without having any reaction to it. The minute you have even the slightest reaction to any of it implies that there is an issue going on with your gut. This may apply to a lot of the women, but I know it used to be me as well. I could eat rotli and bread and look like I'm 6-7 months pregnant, because I'm so sensitive to it that I would just swell. So again, that's signs as well that your gut isn't functioning. Okay, so signs of a poor gut. Most of us know it as leaky gut. The actual, I don't know, scientific name or proper name now, people don't like leaky gut, is intestinal permeability. But if you suffer from any skin conditions like eczema, psoriasis, even hives, you have poor gut health, or reacting to certain foods, as I said before. Many people will often think eczema, psoriasis is caused by topical stuff, washing powders, creams, but it's not. If you're getting issues on your skin, whether it's acne on the face, psoriasis, eczema, itching, it is all stemming from internally. So just something to think about and look into. Anything you put on your skin is in your bloodstream within 30 seconds. So also think about, what is it you're putting on your skin that is maybe toxic and going into your bloodstream. Think about your meals, and again, how balanced are they? For me, I can't have soya. Soya just literally, I will want to sleep forever. I'm so sensitive to soya that I can't have it. But think about you. What are you eating that you're reacting to? The other thing is unexplained weight gain. Again, a big issue for a lot of women, especially perimenopausal, postmenopausal. But again, if you've got poor gut health, you may also be having a thyroid issue. And then thyroid, we know that also makes people gain weight. Migraines are quite common. So if we have a migraine sufferers, that could again relate to poor gut health or liver, where estrogen is not metabolizing. So I urge you, keep a food diary and just have a note. What are you eating and what are you reacting to understand? And then try and eliminate it for a few days and see if that is making any difference. Autoimmune conditions, as I mentioned at the start, they really do occur due to bad gut health, but usually caused by some sort of stress or trauma or bacteria or something like that. It's not something that will happen straight away. Frequent infections. As I said, 80% of your gut is like your immune system. So are you someone who is catching a cold really quickly all the time? It's very good to catch a cold at least once a year. That's your body's way of going, I've got a toxic stuff in my body, I need to get rid of it. Fevers are actually good for the body, but we are so quick to give our child or someone paracetamol. Allow the body to fight the fever. It's fighting something. So let it heal naturally. Next slide. So how can you identify what your gut is actually doing or how it's behaving? As a functional nutritional practitioner, one of the tests that I'd recommend, it's not a cheap test, but it's worth it, is the stool test. And it's not your stool test that the GP will give you because they will only test for a couple of the markers. This really, really helps to understand what is going on in the gut. And it will give you loads of different markers from pathogens, H. pylori. The opportunistic bacteria is a really good marker because that's your bad bacteria. So you want to see, is your bad bacteria higher than your good bacteria? And what are your good bacteria markers doing? Are they at the low end? Are they in the middle? Are they at the high end? Because sometimes also being at the high end of a range is not ideal either. Low end is never ideal, but high end is not ideal either. And also, which antibiotics are you resistant to? This is really worth knowing because if you have some sort of infection and the doctor gives you an antibiotic, you can show them your stool test and say, look, these antibiotics are not going to work on me. And I've seen so many of my clients be on antibiotic number 1, and then number 2, and then number 3. And then it just makes your gut health really, really bad. Another brilliant test that can really, really be helpful is called the hair tissue mineral analysis. This is a really easy test. It's not invasive at all. You've just got to cut a bit of your hair and send it off to the lab, and they will then test on it to see what comes up of it. This one is all about the minerals in the bodies. Your body cannot function really well if your minerals are lacking or low or are not balanced at all. Minerals, as we know, fulfill a wide variety of functions. They're essential for the proper functioning of the human body. They play a crucial role in various processes, such as building bones, regulating your metabolism, transmitting nerve impulses, supporting muscle function. Minerals such as zinc and magnesium are really essential for the digestive enzymes in your body. So if you suffer from heartburn, you've actually got low stomach acid. And again, just a show of hands, who here is on omeprazole or lansoprazole? and often given it because you find you've got baratra, but it's actually making things worse. So omeprazole is known to deplete zinc from the body, and you've already got low stomach acid, which means you're probably low in zinc, and it's making it even lower. Zinc is also really vital for maintaining the integrity of the gut, so to help prevent this leaky gut as well. Zinc comes in loads of food forms, but you've also got to be careful not to overdo it with zinc, because zinc works really well with copper. That's why this test is really, really beneficial, because it just gives you all your levels of the minerals. And I don't know what can see what, but the first column's calcium and the second column is magnesium. Now, this client has got too much calcium in the cells of its body, which means that it's dumping it, it's not absorbing it. So this client may also present with osteoporosis. They'll go to the GP. The GP will say, right, you need calcium tablets. That's the worst thing that patient can do, is take calcium tablets, because they're not absorbing it. And then it's going to misplace vitamin D. Calcium is needed for the thyroid. So again, it can affect the thyroid. So for this patient, having something like tissue cell salts, so homeopathic remedies, or calcium-rich foods is going to be the ideal scenario. And I would also recommend, if you have a test and you're low in vitamin D, you're not actually low in vitamin D. It's your liver not storing it effectively, or you are lacking magnesium. So please, please, please be mindful. Apra loko badhama badhaine atyarthi winter tarne kaise vitamin D khao, vitamin D khao, vitamin D khao. But just be mindful, yeah, your lack of vitamin D actually might not be a lack of vitamin D. This hair test can also help identify or indicate if you're heading towards subclinical hypothyroidism before a blood test will indicate it. Bloods are usually the last place to give you an indication of something going on with your body. I see so many clients come to me who are like tired, lethargic, dry skin, constipation, all the symptoms of an underactive thyroid, but the blood test will show there's nothing wrong. And then they'll be dismissed by the GP. But this test will help us identify which minerals are not in balance, that will then help support the thyroid. This can also help identify a client whose blood sugars are not balanced and therefore potentially heading towards type 2 diabetes. So this test is really good at helping to prevent quite a few health issues that one can present with. And it's one of the relatively cheaper tests that one can do. And like I said, it's non-invasive. You just need to snip off a bit of hair and send it off to the lab. Hair tests show you what is going on in your body 3 months. So what's been going on in your body 3 months prior? So what has been happening in your system 3 months ago? A blood test will show you only what is happening now. Blood tests, whilst they can be preventative on certain things, they're just a diagnosis. So how can you support your gut? Firstly, if you think you are having issues, then start with a sensitivity test. These can be done by blood. There are some hair companies that do it as well. And it will give you a report of like what foods your body may be sensitive to or intolerant to. This is not an allergy test. Allergy tests are completely different. And if you're allergic, you will have a reaction straight away. But sensitivities can be hidden, and it's over time that then they will show up that you are sensitive. If you're sensitive to some foods, it doesn't mean you need to stop, but there's ways of supporting the gut, heal the lining of the gut. So sensitivity can sometimes happen. So our gut is this big, long colon, and then we get holes in it. That's what leaky gut is. So when you eat your food, it goes through the holes and then into the bloodstream. That's what's causing the sensitivity. So if you can heal and seal the gut, then you should be able to eat certain foods that you're sensitive to. Slippery elm is something that's really good at supporting the gut lining. Ensure all of your meals are balanced at all times, and that includes snacks. So when I'm suggesting snacks to my clients or we're having something at home, it will be things like carrot sticks with hummus, not just carrot sticks on their own. Because whilst carrots are healthy for us, they're a carbohydrate. They will release sugar. But have it with something like hummus, which is your good fat and protein, it will then balance out that sugar spike and not create the sugar spike. So basically, you want your sugars to more or less be like that, not like that. So always, always balance out your meals. Aim to eat 30, they say 30, but you can do more, different plant-based foods in the week. I think as vegetarians, we can do it, but how many of us are on repeat? How many of us have the same food day in, day out, and less of a variety? So this is about varying your plate so you get all the good gut microbiome through the diverse foods you are eating. This includes vegetables, fruits, seeds, lentils, pulses. So there's a load of foods that we can eat. One question I always ask my clients, where do you have your meals? And more often than not, the answer I'm given is on the sofa in front of the TV. Please, please, please sit at your dining table and have your food. And ideally with the TV off. Because by sitting at the table, you're upright. You're not squashed. So you're not stressing out your digestive system. It's allowing that food to pass through and transition. And then the other reason to sit at the table, but without distraction, is your mind is on the TV. It's not on your plate. So your brain is not being given the signal of, I'm full, or what have I eaten, or how fast have I eaten, or what's going on. Breathe in the food you're eating. Chew the food you're eating. Have all your senses alive as you're eating. And just those simple changes, you will start to notice a difference. Take time to eat. How many of us go, chomp, chomp, swallow, chomp, chomp, swallow, chomp, chomp, swallow. Quick, quick, quick. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. Oh my God, this. I remember as a child, every meal would be at the dining table all together. You sit and chat. There was no rush. Why are we all in a rush today? Ask yourself that question. Why are we in a rush today? Why are we so wanting to eat our food so quickly? Where's the fire? If you're someone who is a soup or smoothie person, you're all going to laugh when I say this, but eat your soup or smoothie. Don't drink it. And by that, I mean, add in some chunky stuff to it. So if you've got a smoothie, add in some seeds. If you've got soup, I don't know, maybe add in some green lentils or quinoa or something that makes you chew that food, because digestion starts here in the mouth, the chewing process. By you drinking it, your brain hasn't got the signal to say food is coming down, release the digestive acids and process this food. And that's where then heartburn and all of that can start with, because your acids have no idea what is going on. Good gut health needs iron, zinc, and B vitamins. Now, many of us, I find, are low in iron. Low iron can stem from low copper. So again, another reason to get the hair test done. Low copper could be because of hormonal issues, or it's been dumped or suppressed by zinc or something like that. So no one mineral works on its own. They're all connected. But iron is also needed for good digestion. Anemia is low iron, but women are anemic because they bleed heavy, but they're bleeding heavy because they're anemic. It's a vicious circle. And being given conventional iron tablets, I'm really sorry to say, it's not the answer. Because you'll be on them, you'll stop them, you'll feel good, and then you're back to square one again. So it's working out, why are you low in iron in the first place? And as I mentioned earlier, PPIs, so omeprazole, lansoprazole, any of those digestive aids are going to cause your B vitamins and zinc to deplete. Again, we're so busy that we forget to eat as well. How many skip breakfast? And I know there's mixed views about whether to have breakfast or not, intermittent fasting or not. Intermittent fasting isn't for everyone. It can actually make your body worse. It can send your adrenals into more stress. If you know that you have blood sugar issues, you get hangry, you get the shakes. Eat your food at regular basis. Keep your blood sugar balanced. Your body will absolutely thank you for it. Ensure you eat as freshly cooked foods as possible. Again, I can put my hand up to it, but my generation and below, again, are in that fast society, aren't making time to cook properly or eat properly, takeaways, meals out, oven food, processed food, the amount of rubbish that's in them. I've got clients who've changed their way of eating and can't believe how well they actually eat now because they're cooking from fresh. And you can bulk cook and freeze your meals. We do that at home. We have 3 freezers in our house. One, because my daughter's a baker and the amount of butter we go through. But if I've made dal or mug or anything like that extra, I will freeze it and then utilize it another day. So frozen, freshly cooked food is not bad either. Frozen vegetables aren't bad either, because I haven't got time to come to VB's or Kingsbury every single day and buy my green little shack and sudarai and then make it. So you've got to work on your time as well, but there's nothing wrong with buying frozen foods that you can then prep and put in the freezer to have ready to use, but cook as fresh as you can. Our Indian koraki spices, we are blessed with all of those things, and they are so healthy for us. So healthy for us. I mean, Ajay, this turmeric latte, oh my God, harda var dud, kitla varstya prepijete. So can you see, our Indian diet is if we cook it properly, it is a really healthy diet. Bad rotli, but it's really healthy. Also, bulk and batch cooking save you time of wondering what to make and all that. And that's where then bad food choices come in. So this is about planning and prepping at the same time as well. We are probably the nation who's very stressed. We look at our grandparents who, I don't think they even knew what the word stress was. And then you look at our generation who are stressed beyond stressed. Look at ways that you can bring down your stress. Later on, I'd like you to, when you go home, I'd like you to, not consciously, but you will need to, how are you breathing? How many of you are shallow breathing? How many of you can actually go Just simple breath work is enough to start help bringing your stresses down, which in turn supports your digestive system. Stress is one of the biggest factors of poor gut health. Meditation. Meditation's a really good one to do. People are, oh, I don't know, I can't meditate, can't switch your mind off, all that. It doesn't have to be in complete silence. Just find what works for you. Journaling, being out in nature, exposing your whole self to the daylight first thing in the morning is really brilliant because it just calms the whole body down. Stand on the grass if you can. The grounding, really, really beneficial. Find an activity that makes you happy. One question I'll ask all my female clients, and it's a very common answer. What do you do that is just for you? Not you as a wife, not you as a mother, not you as a daughter, not you as a sister, not you as any relation, but you. I'd say 99% of the ladies I consult with don't have an answer. Because we're running around everyone else, everything else, and putting ourselves last, and then wondering, why am I frazzled? I've put take zinc and B vitamins. So zinc, again, with caution, but B vitamins, again, being vegetarians, we are likely to be lacking in B12. And if anyone here is diabetic and on metformin, you'll see a few slides down, that depletes your B12. B12 is very much needed for our liver. The detoxification processes that our liver does that supports our gut. B12 is needed for iron. So where you might be low in iron, you may actually be low in B12. And we should supplement because good forms of B12 come from animal products. So if you're vegetarian, obviously that's going to be a lot more harder to get through. But foods that are good for the digestive system, that are rich in zinc and B vitamins, are beans, chickpeas, lentils, tofu, walnuts, cashew nuts, chia seeds, ground linseeds, pumpkin seeds, quinoa. So some really good sources of food. Then you've got whole grains, legumes, leafy greens. Leafy greens is something I would urge all of us to have every single day because, again, not only supports the liver, but you've got your B vitamins, you've got folates, your natural folic acid, not the synthetic form. Sweet potatoes and broccoli. If you're over 40, your digestive enzymes do start to deplete, so it's worth looking into a digestive enzyme that has hydrochloric acid in it because that will support you with your digestion. Add in prebiotics. So prebiotics are more important than probiotics because the pro cannot work without the pre. So pre is literally like all your vegetables. So that's what I'm saying. Have a massive array of vegetables in your diet to support that gut health. So then that good bacteria has the chance of rising. And hydration. How many of us here will opt for a cup of tea or coffee as opposed to plain water? How many of you will have, I don't know, 2, 3, 4, 5 cups of tea with sugar? Papanin una mouse taras not lagi. But your body needs the water. However, you mustn't have liquids with your meals. Wait either 30 minutes after or have your liquid 15, 20 minutes before your meal, not with your meal, because it then dilutes your vitamins and minerals. Exercise regularly. Movement. Movement is really, really good for your gut health because it's that It's moving lymph around, it's moving blood around, it's moving oxygen around. It aids the digestive system, but movement also helps with your mental health and clarity. So it's good on all fronts. And it doesn't have to be just cardio. It could be strength training, weights, gentle movement like Pilates or yoga, or we've got Navratri coming up. Dance your heart away. So movement and sleep. Again, show of hands. Who here will have less than 7 hours of good sleep every single night? Sleep is when your body heals the most. My son is 6'2" and still growing. And people ask, he's only 16. And people say, oh, what will come to us and say, what were you, how is he so tall? I mean, my husband and I are tall, but he's tall. But they slept as children. And they did. They honestly slept as children. They would need their full 12 hours. And even now, you know, being 16, you think, okay, more but they'll still sleep. Between the hours of 10:30 and 5:30, so 10:30 at night and 5:30 in the morning, the organs that have been used throughout the day can only heal if you're sleeping. So your body works in like the Chinese clock every 2 hours. So all the time that you're awake between 10:30 and 5:30, whatever organ needs to heal in that time can't. And so many of us will often wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, literally 3 o'clock. That's your liver crying out for help. So if your liver isn't functioning effectively or you're not healing it, liver and digestive system work hand in hand. So consider your sleep as well. Can really, really consider your sleep. And, you know, try and have a good bedtime routine. A cool room, dark room, no TVs in the bedroom, ideally no phones in the bedroom or put them onto airplane mode. You know, do whatever you can to just calm yourself down and have a really good sleep. I know for me, Have, like I've got twins. So I look back and think, oh my God, how the hell did we do it? Bringing them up awake every 1.5, 2, 3 hours, feeding and nappy change and all that. And now if I have even 1 hour less sleep, I'm a nightmare to be around. I really am. I need my sleep. And it's not a case of, okay, she said 7 hours, so chalo, eko age suwajain 8 age utia. That's not the case either. For every hour of sleep you get before midnight, it's worth 2 hours in its weight. So try and sleep early. Ben borin kejo chalo phone mukide suwajaisha. It's also important, you know, Jain Dharma, you know, they do the whole eating before sunset. So, you know, Satvaga Bella, we should all try and eat because ideally you want to leave 3 hours between your dinner and sleep. And again, I see it time and time again. Clients are eating 7:30, 8, 8:30, and then heading into bed. You're not allowing that digestion to happen. The food is just going to sit there. These are one of the best and worst things that have been designed. I'm guilty of it because my work relies on it, but how many of us are stuck to our phones? How many of us are addicted to notifications or beep, beep? Let me just quickly check. Let me quickly do this. They're leading our lives. And I see so many parents now, and again, I'm not saying it's the wrong thing. You do what you need to for your child, but the child won't eat unless they're watching something or have been given the phone, or, you know, it's like the parents are struggling. And that child then learns that behavior. I can only eat if I've got a distraction. And therefore, you're potentially not helping that child with their digestive system. So, simple alarm clock. Argos will be very happy with your business. Quick £10 alarm clock will do the job. Also, we are all, a lot of us are governed by Fitbits, Apple Watches, whatever type of watches that you wear, which, you know, connects to your phone, all that. Remove them. People are like, oh, but I need to track my sleep. What are you doing with that data? How is it helping you? It's emitting radiation. It's looking for signals. So again, it's very, 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 very slow poison in your body. So these are foods to consider removing or cutting down on. I can't do no chocolate and I can't do no crisps, but I can do without the other bits and pieces. But these are full of sugars, bad fats, trans fats. So ideally worth removing or reducing from your diet completely. We've all got to live life, and there will be times when you can't omit them or things like that, but it's worth being mindful about how you're eating or what you're eating. And I promise you again, just try it and you'll see the difference. They don't provide any nutritional benefit, except they are very lovely to eat. So they may provide the happiness for you short term. But again, I always say to clients, 80-20 rule. As long as 80% of the time you're really good about what you're eating, allow these in the 20%. Now, with Dietary coming up, I am number one to eat all the mithai. I have a sweet tooth. I love it. You give me a box of mithai, they'll be gone. But that's that because you can eat it. These are foods to avoid. So mithai is allowed. Mithai is good, no ghee, no mao, no all that. I'm joking. But these can all be enjoyed part of a healthy lifestyle as well. So it's just being mindful about your choices. So I've mentioned about the balanced plate, and the 3 food groups that we all need to work with are proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. Now, carbs, everyone knows because we eat them on a regular basis. That's your vegetables, your grains, your fruit, your nuts, your seeds. But here are some good vegetarian sources of protein. Now, they're not your pure protein because some of these will still be carbohydrates. But for vegetarians who obviously, you know, we're not having meats or fish, some of you may not even eat eggs. These are sources that you could add into your foods to help encourage the protein intake. You can also have some fruit and vegetables that will have protein. It's just worth Googling what you're eating and seeing. And MyFitnessPal is really good to help understand what your 3 food groups are and how well you've covered them. Vegetables with the most protein include broccoli, spinach, asparagus, artichokes, potatoes, sweet potatoes, and Brussels sprouts, but typically only contain 4 to 5 grams of protein per cooked cup. The ideal scenario is about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal throughout the day. And that is quite hard as a vegetarian. Anyone have any favorites? You can just stick your hand up on here. Lentils are good. These are your good sources of fat to include. If you're someone who does eat eggs, then these are also good with being a good fat along with protein. And many foods will cross over the food group. But you'll note, I've not included any seed oils like vegetable oil, sunflower oil, canola. These are not great oils. And I know we've all grown up with them. I know when we used to live with my mom and dad's, how many of you remember buying the big, like, I don't know, what was it, 10 litre, 20 litre cans? And then you get a hammer and then you put a hole in it to let the air out. And then you stop it into whatever container you were going to use. There's a lot of research out now. These are not the ideal oils to use. And then, you know, how many of us starve in that and then you reuse that oil for something else? It really, really isn't ideal. They're not ideal for being used at high temperatures. And how many of us use it for a vagar and, you know, anything, whatever we're cooking with, and they can become carcinogenic. Coconut oil, ghee, avocado oil, or certain types of olive oil are the better oils to use, or butter to cook with. We live in a country where everything is available at all times, which really isn't ideal because things like strawberries right now are probably so processed where, you know, the season is June, July, August. So trying to eat as seasonally as possible. This is why I love going to India, like, you know, at certain times of the year, because you'd only get certain foods at certain times. So trying to eat as seasonally as possible is really, really ideal as well. So talked about prebiotic foods. These are foods that have fibers that aren't digestible by your body, but help the good bacteria to grow in your gut. So I was talking about water. And you can actually have things like dandelion tea, nettle tea as an option of a good herbal tea, which not only will support your gut, but supports your liver as well. It helps with the whole detoxification process. Since your body doesn't digest these plant fibers, they'll travel to your lower digestive tract to be a food source for the healthy gut bacteria. Prebiotics are not the same as probiotics, which are your helpful bacteria, although both are important for the digestive system. Prebiotics keep your gut and digestive system healthy, and they can strengthen your gut by increasing the good bacteria that help ward off pathogens in your intestinal tract. And also these help with constipation. So if you are a sufferer of constipation, increase these sorts of foods into your diet. Prebiotics can also help reduce inflammation, especially in your intestines, and strengthen the immune system by balancing the good and bad bacteria. Prebiotics may also help with allergy prevention and symptoms of eczema by impacting directly and indirectly on the systems involved in allergic disease development, although further studies are needed. Next slide. And then we have our probiotics, a combination of live beneficial bacteria or yeasts. Now be careful, not everyone can tolerate yeast, so you just got to go by whatever your body allows you to have. Bacteria is usually viewed in a negative light because it's something that makes you sick. However, as I mentioned before, we have two kinds of bacteria constantly in our body, good and bad. Probiotics are made up of good bacteria that helps keep your body healthy and working well. And this good bacteria helps you in many ways, including fighting off bad bacteria when you have too much of it. So it starts helping you feel better. But probiotics are part of a larger picture concerning bacteria and your body, your microbiome. You will hear microbiome bashed around like everywhere at the moment. It's a diverse community of organisms, such as a forest, that works together to keep your body healthy. You have trillions of these microbes in your body, And these are a combination of bacteria, fungus, viruses, and protozoa. We have several locations in our body that host the good bacteria. This is in our gut, our mouth, urinary tract, skin, and lungs. And it's the job of the good bacteria to keep the body healthy. Certain types of good bacteria help your body digest food, keep the bad bacteria from getting out of control, create vitamins, help support the cells that live in your gut to prevent the bad bacteria from entering your bloodstream. And it helps break down and absorb medication. You don't actually need to take probiotics. And sometimes probiotics can actually be negative on a person than helping yourself with food. Because if you have what we call small intestinal bacteria overgrowth, so too much bad bacteria, giving your body probiotics can actually help feed that bad bacteria and make it worse. So sometimes you've got to work in the other way to then get your body functioning how it needs to. However, one time that I would say that probiotics are absolutely necessary is when you have consumed antibiotics. Just a simple course of something like amoxicillin, a 7-day course, will wipe out literally a whole year's worth of good bacteria. So take a probiotic when you are having antibiotics, but away from the antibiotic. Do not take them at the same time. And for every 1 week course of antibiotics you have, take 3 weeks worth of probiotics. And ideally in the 25, 30, 50 billion range, because you really want to populate your gut again. Because if you've had antibiotics, you're likely to get a recurrent infection quite quickly if you don't support the gut. Next slide. As I mentioned earlier, that certain medications deplete the body of certain nutrition. And I'm going to reiterate, if you are on any medication, do not come off it without the help of your GP or your consultant. But know that certain medications do deplete you of vital nutrition. I'm hearing a lot of statins being given, and a lot of GPs are just giving it as a preventative, even though the person may not need it. And there's actually research out now that statins is not the ideal medication. Don't ask me what it is. I haven't got that far yet, but I know that it's not the ideal medication. So many of us are on metformin or some sort of insulin because we become diabetic. But if you are type 2, you have the complete ability to reverse that and come off your medication. I'm not saying it's you guys, but there is that mentality. Ladu kailo, dawa leilo. Ladu kailo, dawa leilo. Please don't have that mentality. Enjoy your ladu, but maybe one bite as opposed to a whole ladu. But work to balance your plate, have more protein, have the good fats, and learn, exercise, move. Those things will help support in reversing your diabetes and getting you off medication for life. It's lifestyle changes. But if you have that mentality, oh, chalo, doctor passe jais na dawa apis, you're never going to get better, because one medication will lead to another medication, which will lead to another medication. So it's all up here. And your mind is one of the strongest and biggest things that can serve your gut well. You can, like some of these, you can give yourself like some of these supplements, but again, it's really probably worthwhile working with someone like myself who's a nutritionist who can look at your bigger picture and see where your deficiencies are. Because for me, it's food first and then supplementation, because that's what supplements are. They're just supplementing. But if you've got a bad diet or poor gut health, by taking supplements or anything like that, I'm really sorry to say you have expensive wee wee, because your body is just peeing it all out. So as I've said, always use food as medicine first and foremost, and then supplement where needed. There are some supplements that we will need, like B12, as I said. And, you know, if you're in a stressed environment, your body may need, your adrenals may need support. Sometimes your gut needs support. So it just depends on what your body is in need of, but always, always consult with your doctor first before coming off any medication. And sometimes certain supplements will interact with medication as well. So that's what I'm saying. Don't just blindly go somewhere and just start popping because you've heard that this is going to help you and that's going to help you. Work with someone who knows how to support you in the right way and get you to a better, healthier you. Okay. But for everyday health, I do recommend an omega-3. I know we are mostly vegetarians here. If your conscious does allow you, then a fish omega-3 is better than a plant-based omega. But if you can't, then obviously a plant-based omega is just as good, but it takes longer to absorb and work and convert into the right way. However, if you are on blood thinners or blood thinning medication, be mindful that omega-3s are a natural blood thinner as well. So don't like just go and take them. And the reason we need omega-3 is we have omega-3, 6, and 9, but our diets are rich in omega-6s. And omega-6s are things like your oils. So, you know, the sunflower oil or the olive oil or those sorts of things. So we need to balance it out because omega-6 actually creates more inflammation in the body. So the omega-3 is an anti-inflammatory. B12, as I said, is needed for detoxification purposes and energy, and it's good to have a good multi-B as well. But make sure it's not your cheap one off Holland & Barrett or Boots or something like that. Those companies, the supplement formatting isn't the ideal. They'll use those binders, fillers, synthetic ingredients. You actually want a methylated form of B12, B complex. So they'll always have methyl and then whatever B vitamin they are, because they're the better absorbed natural forms of the B vitamins. So that brings me to the end of the presentation. I hope you have found it interesting and beneficial. I know we've got Q&A afterwards, but I'm going to hand it over to Nishi, who's going to talk to us about her life experience.
Jajinendra, everyone. So my name is Nishi, and as Monica explained, my background. So yeah, I'm gonna start off. It's all gonna be in English, because I'm not completely fluent in Gujarati anymore. But if you do need explanations, ask me later. I can explain in Gujarati myself. So yeah, so I've been living with ulcerative colitis since the age of 18. So for those of you who don't know what colitis is, I'll explain a bit about it. Ulcerative colitis is a type of inflammatory bowel disease, shortened for IBD. It causes part of the gut, the colon, to become swollen, inflamed, and ulcerated, which can result in symptoms like diarrhea, blood in the stools, weight loss, fatigue, abdominal pain, and much more. This condition is lifelong, unpredictable, and comes with periods of remission where you feel well, full of energy, and flare-ups when the disease becomes active again. So my life changed forever on the 16th of July 2007. So I was sitting my final year of school exams, A levels, when I started to become really sick and experience severe pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. Initially, my doctors thought I had IBS because of stress of exams looming. And yeah, of course. Thank you. Yeah. No, of course, no, that's fine. I understand. So as I said, um, during June 2007, I was sitting my final year of exams for school, A levels, where I started becoming quite sick with severe pain, diarrhea, and vomiting. Initially, my doctors thought I had IBS, which was caused by stress. But after my exams finished, I was still quite sick. And at this point, I noticed blood in my stools. So I knew something wasn't right. So I went to my GP, and thankfully, they're very supportive and got me referred to private hospital local to my area. And thanks to my dad, who had private health insurance, which was utilized to give me fast diagnosis. So luckily, within 2 weeks of being referred, I was admitted to hospital, got all full checkups, and I was diagnosed at this point on 16th of July with colitis. When I got the diagnosis, I'll be frank with you, I had no idea, to be fair, what this was. Um, I, I just accepted what I had. I thought, okay, I'll get on with it. But I had no idea at that time that I was diagnosed with a lifelong chronic disease that had no cure and would impact my life in ways I couldn't yet imagine. As a result of this, I knew that my A-level results coming out in August wouldn't be what I needed to go to the university of my choice. So I made the choice before the results came out just to cancel my UCAS application and to take a gap year where I could focus on my health, recover, and redo my exams if needed the following year, which I did do because I didn't want this disease to affect my career prospects. So I took a year out. I managed to redo some of my exams the following year, and successfully I got the place of my choice at university to study. So I spent my gap year just getting better, spending my time at home when we were traveling, and I was ready to go back to start university. So I was looking forward to university as most 18-year-olds would have. Unfortunately, I probably should have got a bit more advice from my consultants about my disease and how to manage it, going to Nottingham, far from home, without mom's home cooked food and a new environment. So unfortunately, I ignored my disease to a large extent and wanted to live life as any other student would do in uni. I didn't want my colitis to control my life. I wanted to enjoy my first year of uni, second and third year, and all that came with it. However, in 2010, I decided to take on a challenge with my friend to climb Everest Base Camp to raise money for charity. And I know despite my family's concerns about me going on this expedition with no training and obviously having a health condition, I probably should have got maybe some advice from my hospital team about how to manage me going far away from home and tracking for 10 days. The journey to Everest Base Camp was remarkable, was amazing, but unfortunately, I did become quite sick because of altitude. And I didn't realize at that point I took Imodium to help my symptoms of diarrhea because I had probably like food poisoning or just sickness. Unfortunately, Imodium shouldn't be taken if you've got colitis. And I didn't read the back of the packet, which I usually do. So maybe in hindsight, I will probably check what I'm taking before I take it. So I had helicopter rescue to come and fly me back from Everest Base Camp back to Nepal, where I caught the first flight back to London. And as a result of this, I had a severe flare-up, the first time since I got diagnosed in 2007, where I returned back home. I was put on severe medication, steroids at this point to minimize the flare-up. And I continued staying at home during the summer holidays to recover. and hoping to start uni again. I went back to uni in autumn 2010, but being a busy term of exams looming, I wasn't doing very well. I actually had a flare up again in December 2010, where I went to hospital straight away because at this point my colitis was uncontrollable. And I was in hospital for a good few weeks. I was put on steroids, which led to quite a few complications whilst being in hospital. And despite my body being very weak, I was clearly struggling to heal. I was still focused on my exams, which were looming in less than 4 weeks from this time. Even though my consultants told me, forget about exams, you know, you need to take some time. And I was like, I was adamant that no, I've got time at home to recover. I will do it. So eventually I did complete my exams in the winter term. But during March 2011, I wasn't recovering well. I was still getting worse. And my university was remarkable, actually. They're very supportive, and my course lead and my tutor encouraged me to take time off uni and just don't worry about that year. You can redo it again when you're better, but you need to maybe go home and focus on your health. So I think till this day, I'm always grateful for University of Nottingham for giving me that support and pushing me to go back home. And I think going back home was a big decision for me to make. But for the sake of my health, I had to prioritize that. And being bedridden and housebounded for over 2 months taught me to appreciate little things in life. Having my family support around me was invaluable. At this point, I started to take a bit more control of my life and my disease. I was learning more about the disease and started working with a local acupuncturist and homeopath who I've known for years, and which kind of helped me to start going out again. So walking independently and doing things that I once could do before my relapse. It was an experience that was very painful, shaped me into the person I am today. Between 2010 and 21, so a good 11 years, my disease became more unpredictable as time went on and difficult to manage, with many flare-ups and appointments. But I wasn't going to let it define my life completely. But despite being on a number of medications and continuous phone calls to the hospital, to my GP, I managed to successfully graduate from university and have a successful career. So for over 11 years, I was on most biological treatments that were available, which was funded through the NHS, and was taking over 15 tablets a day for years. Nothing seemed to improve. And my doctors were fantastic. I must say, St. Mark's Hospital have given me and still give me the best possible care. But at this point, no one mentioned about dietary changes or lifestyle changes. It was all focused on medicine, medicine, medicine. And at that point, I was young. I obviously believed in conventional medicine, and I still do to a large extent, but it's changed slightly. So alongside conventional medicine, I did a homeopathy and acupuncture every week, was helping me to a large degree keep my flare-ups to minimize it, so I could embark on my teaching career. It was important to me to be successful in my career and do things I wanted to do as a young 20 or mid-20s. However, as time went on, at every appointment that came up, my consultants were quite worried about me, the fact that I wasn't getting better, my symptoms were still the same, bloods were not improving, my colonoscopy was showing continuous prolonged gut inflammation. They were saying that if I didn't respond to treatment as time went on, my risk of cancer was increasing. Those with IBD diseases may not know, but the longer that you are in flare-ups for over 10 years, chance of cancer does increase drastically. So obviously I was like, okay. At that point, new treatments came out. But slowly inside myself, I felt as if I lost control of my body, but quietly hoping that maybe someday my colon would heal naturally. Then the year 2020, as most of us know it, changed us in many ways. For me, the global pandemic was a big change, but changed my life in more ways than one. As you know, I'm a teacher. Schools closed down, which meant that my job became more stressful and just changed the way I had to work. And I unfortunately became very sick as soon as the pandemic started. So for weeks, I avoided hospital or going to see my GP purely because everyone said to us, oh, you can't go to hospital. It's COVID. And we live close to North Park Hospital. So you can imagine what everyone was tell us. I was very sick for a good 4 weeks before my late dad said, Nishi, go to hospital now, get GP to refer you. I'm thankful that my GP are still fantastic. They got me straight admitted to North Park Hospital, where I spent a good 3 weeks on hospital by myself. As you know, mom, dad, sister, no one could come and see me because of the pandemic. At this point, I was at the worst flare-up I've ever been in my whole life. So this time, the consultants and surgeon were very clear with me, and they said that if I didn't respond whilst I was in hospital with the next treatment, and this treatment I was given are used for other severe diseases. So I was kind of given a shock that I had basically a week to respond to treatment in hospital. Otherwise, I would have surgery. And some of you might know I'm quite stubborn and quite strong-willed. That was not an option in my life. I was still very young, and the people that have had this disease, much worse than me, had still lived a fulfilled life. So I told my surgeon, thank you for that, but no thank you. I'm going to prove to my team and to myself that I'm going to get better. And by miracles, within 21 days, I left hospital being on treatment, but a path of hope was open for me. So despite the hospital's team's doubts, I knew I had to take control if I wanted to live a long, healthy life. I tried every single biological treatment and medication that was available to me. That moment in hospital for 3 weeks by myself, being around COVID patients in that ward, unfortunately, was a wake-up call to me and made me realize health is wealth, and no one can take responsibility for but you. So yeah, I must say living with this disease has been difficult and still is, but I've learned to stand tall against it. It has tried to break me many times, but each time I've always fought back, and I've grown stronger and resilient because of it. The disease doesn't own me. The sooner I learn to understand it and take control, the easier it became to live with it as time went on. So after I left hospital mid-April 2020, I was determined to figure out why my body wasn't healing. Why did I go through all these invasive treatments, which caused me spots I never had before, weight gain, I looked like a balloon. I was just happy with myself. I knew something had to change. So I started the treatment, the journey to look inwards at my gut. Thankfully, my friend Ruthie introduced me to a family member of hers, Rasha Qatari, who is a qualified nutritionist and Ayurvedic health specialist. So I started my journey working with her in mid 2020 to heal my gut using a combination of modern nutritional science and Ayurvedic. So similar to what Raki has mentioned here, I worked with Rasha for a number of years from 2020, and the holistic approach which she guided me towards was looking at the root of my symptoms rather than just healing it. But as a hospital gave me for 11 years was drugs. And to be honest with you, they made me worse, not even better. I got more complications as a result of those severe drugs I was on. So I now need to work on my gut. This was really hard, I must say. My mom and Neha know I had to make drastic changes, while like eating 3 meals a day, which until that point I never used to, because my career as a teacher was very stressful. It meant that I skipped meals. I had to like change what I ate. So I limited a lot of food groups for my diet because I had a lot of intolerances that were helping my gut heal. So yeah, over a good year, I was working very closely with Russia. So we did a food plan where she kept me accountable to what I ate every single day, and used to have weekly appointments with me to make sure I was following up on what she advised. I did extensive tests, like Raki said, the bowel gut test I did as well, intolerance test, and many more, which gave me insightful insight into my own health and things that I could do that was within my control to change it. So this comprehensive whole body approach that I gained knowledge of allowed me to address the inflammation in my gut naturally and gave me control back on my life, helping me manage my symptoms in ways medication hadn't before. I felt energized, no less bowel movements frequently. I had no pain, no bleeding. my body was becoming a bit more normal for me. I could do things. I could, go out for longer than I could before. So I felt happy knowing that something was working. And as by mid 21, year later, I had my next appointment with a different team to check whether I could wean off steroids. And good news, within a year working with Russia, I managed to be steroid free and drug free. So my team were shocked. They asked me because my file was so long. They were just shocked that I was on this path. And I explained the changes I made to my life with lifestyle changes like sleep routine, same, try to stick to the same bedtime daily if I can, introduce yoga to my life later on, start doing exercise a bit more regularly. And also by eliminating certain food groups like dairy and gluten, I don't eat at all, hardly anymore. Like from 2020 to 2022, for good 2 years, I stopped dairy and gluten completely from my diet. And the changes I saw in my body were just remarkable. My gut was healing itself naturally. And my blood tests showed that, which was my evidence for the hospital to let me go drug free. I invested heavily financially into my health at this point, doing testing, homeopathy, changing my diet, investing in food that was better for me, but it was the best decision I ever made in my life. In the past, whenever I experienced flare ups, I always had the same mistakes, making the same mistakes every time. But over time, I grew wiser and stronger, using each flare up I had as an opportunity to adapt and better understand my body. And now I must say, I feel much more empowered as I'm in control and working with my gut and listening to any symptoms that come up. So yeah, I must say, just overall to conclude, living with colitis has been a challenging journey, and I can say I'm in remission now. So I'm thankful that I've come at the end of end of that path I've had for the last 14 years. And just one thing I must say, what Raki said today, all this advice, it's worth giving it a go. Honestly, it's changed my life for the better. And I think the food we eat is a healer. Obviously I accepted medication was a part of my life because I had to take it, I had no choice. But if I just had someone maybe 11 years ago telling me that actually start changing your diet, and I'm just thankful that I'm able to talk to you guys here and explain my journey. And yeah, and honestly, if any of you guys, one thing I would say, like I put on my slide, if you know your family members, friends, who've got symptoms like diarrhea, vomiting, even frequent bowel movements that aren't actually normal, go and seek it out. Don't ignore symptoms. And IBD diseases, I must say, is on the increase drastically. And the charity that I am obviously a member of are trying to do amazing work to get our government and NHS to fund more, to reduce waiting times. So thank you very much for listening. And yeah, happy to answer any questions and support any way I can. Thank you very much.
Two amazing presentations. So Raki, thank you so much for all the wonderful information you shared with everybody. There's so much stuff there. I'm absolutely flummoxed by some of that. And when you said, oh, because I know effect tired, we're all thinking, oh, I thought we're shorty right? And I gomni jetamevat gairi. How many of it's our diet, right? So I've heard it so many times that wheat is such a bad thing for us because of that process that it goes through. And Nishi, thank you for sharing your journey. What a terrible thing that happened, but how amazing that you showed, fortitude and you came through that, showing willpower, going through the whole medical journey, and then relying on the work that was done through the nutritionist. We're going to open this up for Q&A now. So tamara questions hoy, though you're welcome to ask either Raki or Nishi, but ayaujo and ask your questions from here so that we can record this as well. And ayau just tell us your name and then your question, if that's okay. So who wants to start us off? So we've got, oh, you'll go. Great. So, and then we've got a question from the back that just coming forward. So Mehope.
Rocky, I've got two questions. On one of the slides about you had pictures of the unhealthy eating, and one was cereal. Now, Weetabix has been known to be a healthy breakfast, but I don't know what your views on that. And the second question is, so I do intermittent fasting, yeah? So how do I know, what are my signs for fluctuations in my sugar levels?
So I would try and avoid the Weetabix if I were you. But so not everyone has an intolerance to wheat, right? So if you know that you're not presenting with any symptoms, then Weetabix may be okay for you. However, what are you having with your Weetabix?
When I do eat this soya milk.
Okay, right. So you've actually got a carb heavy meal. So I would suggest maybe add some nut butter or chia seeds to it to make it a bit more balanced meal. So for you, if Weetabix is not aggravating you, and again, not everyone gets aggravated by wheat. You go by your own symptoms. So for you, Weetabix may be okay, but it is a processed food. And secondly, intermittent fasting. So sometimes it's worth getting those blood prick tests to see, yeah, what are your sugars doing after meals, and are they coming down within a couple of hours? So everyone will have a sugar spike after a meal. That's guaranteed, because there's no food that won't do that. But it's how quickly are you coming back down, because we can be skinny fat. So you can look skinny on the outside, but actually have fat on the inside. And therefore, so intermittent fasting isn't good. So like for people who have polycystic ovaries or diabetics, intermittent fasting isn't the right answer. So I guess you've got to go by your own symptoms and what you're feeling, and measure, okay, whatever you're eating, and this applies to everyone, whatever you're eating, are you sustained for at least 3 to 4 hours before you feel the need to eat again? And if you're not, then you're not balancing your blood sugars.
Thank you.
Does that help?
Yeah.
I think we've got another question here.
So going to ask you about the hair testing thing. Where do you get that?
So it is via practitioners like myself. So I'm happy for my details to be shared. I don't know what the process is and all that, but yeah, I can help sort that out.
We've got another question here.
Hi there, Raki. One quick question, because as a vegetarian, you said protein from vegetables and so on is quite difficult to get to your 30 grams. How do you stand on protein supplements, as in, whey protein or pea protein, vegetarian protein?
So I would use that as a last resort. I would actually try and use MyFitnessPal first, because people think, oh my God, I'm not going to get it. But as I said, certain vegetables have protein. So if you're mixing all your foods together, it may be a case initially just to weigh out, put it into MyFitnessPal, and it'll give you your data, and to see where your shortfall is, or how short you're falling. Protein supplements, again, they're processed. They're not clean, right? So I know loads of sports people use it because, building muscle and all of that. I'm not a personal trainer, so I don't know that sports science, nutrition part, but I would use it as a last resort, not as again, think of it as a supplement. So it's not something I would recommend on like a long-term or daily basis.
Okay, that's great.
But I know that we struggle with the protein, but it's just working out food sources first, and then just adding in extra, I guess, food items first.
So Raki, you just mentioned the app, I think, where you can check this. Can you just repeat what that was, please?
My Fitness Pal, it's a free app. There is paid versions of it, but no one needs the paid version unless you're tracking like loads of other things. And you can literally create meals, and you can put in all foods that you're eating, and it will give you all the it'll give you your protein, your calories, your fat, your carb content of each meal. And then that way you can monitor, okay, you know, have I had X amount of protein, X amount of carbs, that sort of stuff.
Great, thank you. Any more questions?
Thank you to you both for a wonderful presentation. Two questions I have. You know, you gave what you make your current broccoli with. You mentioned it very quickly. You said
So Ferrari lot and quinoa lot.
quinoa and Ferrari.
Yeah, you can get them from BB's.
Okay. And secondly, what's your ideal breakfast?
So my ideal breakfast is so I have gluten-free oats with peanut butter, chia seeds, bit of fruit, and some water. Or I eat eggs, so then others I'll have an egg toast breakfast with some vegetables. But I got to say, I have to have my 1 cup of masala chai every day. No biscuit.
Hi, my name is Roderick, and I thought up till now I was having a pretty good breakfast. Cereals, Indian tea, and a toast. But then I find after a couple of hours I'm hungry again.
Yeah.
So is there something to do with the wheat?
No, it's the carbs. So if you don't have adequate levels of protein or fat in your meals, that's what helps keeps us satiated and fuller for longer. So fiber is good because that helps as well, but you want the right fibers. So, but if you're just having like toast with butter or something like that, that is going to spike your sugar. You're going to come crashing back down. And then you're just going to be ravenously hungry. So it's just working out. So on your toast, and again, there's nothing wrong with toast, but maybe put some nut butter, so peanut butter instead of just butter. So so you got a bit of weight with that. And then again, cereal and stuff is just adding like chia seeds, get some seeds or nuts to it to again weight it out.
Cut down on wheat cereals and maybe go for corn or something like that. Does it help?
So what cereals do you have?
I normally have either a mixture of oats, maize, corn flakes, and occasionally brown flakes as well.
So the oats are good, but again, substantiate it with like what I just said, get, chia seeds, nut butters, bit of fruit, to bulk it up. Conventional cereals, again, the sugar and salt content can be quite high without us realizing it. So they're quite processed.
Okay.
It is a mind shift and a mindset change
Yeah.
to do that. Because I remember when I was doing my course and the first lecture was like, the chief's like, how many of you had toast for breakfast? And I was like, and then the next day it was like, no toast for breakfast.
Okay.
But you'll notice a difference in mood and energy as well. You're welcome.
So I've got a question. You said ghee is good. Why is ghee good? Because we often hear ghee is not good. Yeah. Lots of people say ghee is not good.
Ghee is good because of the fat content. It's also, you can heat it at a high point, and therefore it doesn't become like the carcinogenic like vegetable oils or sunflower and all that. But ghee also, because of the butter and all that, and it supports the cholesterol. Yes. So no, cholesterol comes from sugar, not fat. Some are predisposed to cholesterol because if you have that heart history, genetic, then you're predisposed to it. But for a lot of people, cholesterol is actually, it's made in the liver, and the liver needs the fat and the proteins. But for some people, if you're super stressed out, that will raise your cholesterol. But generally, it's sugar that raises cholesterol. Bad oils, yes, but not the good oils. We all have to have levels of good cholesterol and bad cholesterol. And then this is the other thing. Your blood test that your GP gives you will tell you good cholesterol, will tell you bad cholesterol, but the bad cholesterol also comes in a good and bad form, and that's what they don't tell you. So you may have adequate levels of good, bad cholesterol. And there's a separate functional test for that. But the GPs won't. This is the problem with the NHS testing, unfortunately, is they don't do your full testing to give you the full proper picture.
Right. I'm afraid that's all the questions we had time for today. It's been an absolutely enlightening journey. That last bit about ghee is good for you, that's going to stay with me a long time. And I just want to say a huge thank you to both our speakers, Raki and Nishi. All of you for joining us, and we've got huge numbers here today. It has gone out on YouTube as well, and it'll be there for a very long time. So do go back and look at referencing something if there's something you want to double check again. I will just say a huge thank you to our super tech supporter over there, Mehul Pai, and the Ekta property team, who help us to set all this up. Thank you very much. Our health and well-being group and the subcommittee, so Rashmita Ben Monica has been taking all your bookings like mad over a number of weeks. And we are doing these regularly, so look out for the next one, which will be advertised soon. And if anyone wants to come and help us do these, do seek out Nikita Ben or myself or any of the subcommittee members here. Thank you very much for joining us, and I wish you good night.
हरिहंत प्रभु ना दर्शन करता, ओम नमो हरिहंताणम। सिद्ध प्रभु ना दर्शन करता, ओम नमो सिद्धाणम। आचार्यों ने वंदन करता, ओम नमो आयर्याणम। उपाध्याय ने वंदन करता, ओम नमो उपाध्यायाणम। सर्व साधु ने वंदन करता, नमो लोए सब साहूणम। सम्यक दर्शन मुझने मर्जो, देसो पंचन मुक्तारो। सम्यक ज्ञान मुझने मर्जो, सर्वा पाप परासनो। सम्यक चारित्र मुझने मर्जो,